Books, music, and even movies let our imagination fly and help us to evade reality and routine lives, taking us to magical, incredible, fantastic, fun, but also dark and terrifying worlds. Beginning with Georges Méliès A Trip to the Moon and ending the recent Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water, movies have shown that fantastic stories can also be an excellent film genre for very serious productions. For this top 10, you will see many movies from the 80s. This is because that decade served to develop the genre to its fullest expression, giving the audience the opportunity to escape for a few hours of their reality. However, we include important recent films that are a fundamental part of the genre today. How much do you know about the cinema world? Let's test your knowledge with a quick trivia question. In an era where CGI didn't exist, which fantasy movie created the first photorealistic animal in the history of cinema? A. Legend. B. The Goonies. C. Labyrinth. If you want to know the answer, stay with us, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell. Let's get started on our top 10 of the most popular fantasy movies of all time. Number 10.
The Princess Bride. Not just your basic, average, everyday, ordinary, run-of-the-mill, ho-hum fairy tale.
The Princess Bride has it all. A magical world in which true love, justice, and great ideals still prevail, brings out the best in us, healthy laughter, sighs, and an adventurous spirit. Thanks to its masterful variety of genres mixed in a single story and its great ingenuity, this film has been consecrated as an important film of the fantastic genre, and is considered today as one of the great cult films of all time.
I've seen worse.
Number 9. Labyrinth, Jim Henson, 1986. Who doesn't remember the great David Bowie wearing very tight pants in this movie? Despite having brought together artists like Terry Jones of Monty Python, George Lucas as executive producer, Frank Oz as animator, and David Bowie as actor and composer of the film's soundtrack, Labyrinth wasn't a blockbuster success. Only the time and fans' love of the genre gave it the deserved position, making it one of the most beloved and respected cult films of the fantasy genre. Number 8. Willow, Ron Howard, 1988. This 1988 Ron Howard film tells us the story of Willow Ufgood as he embarks on a quest to help fulfill the prophecy of Alora Danan, the baby that will topple the evil queen Bavmorda. Showing us the classic journey of the hero, the director used the best technology of his time to create impressive special effects and give life to a fantastic and wonderful world that could lead to the big screen. Number 7. The Dark Crystal, Jim Henson, 1982. Inspired by the fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm, director Jim Henson created a unique, gothic and dark world full of magic and danger, where a classic story of the search for truth and the defeat of evil develops. Composed entirely of puppets and animatronics, The Dark Crystal turned out to be an innovative and unforgettable film for its time. Number 6. Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro, 2006. Considered by many film critics and fans as Guillermo del Toro's masterpiece, Pan's Labyrinth is probably his most fanciful film. Magic, strange creatures, a faun, a princess, kings, and a Spain plunged into civil war are just some of the aspects that we can see in this very particular film. Number 5. Mary Poppins, Robert Stevenson, 1964. Who has not sung the songs of Mary Poppins? In honor of its sequel, Mary Poppins Returns, we place in the 5th place one of the most important, beloved, and remembered movies of the fantasy genre. Undoubtedly, the story of the nanny who manages to save a family in pre-World War England has gone down in history as a movie classic. Number 4. The Lord of the Rings Saga, Peter Jackson, 2001 to 2003. With many more defenders than detractors, the Lord of the Rings trilogy has already become a classic and one of the greatest exponents of fantasy movies. Recognized as a masterpiece, this saga was the key to discovering and bringing epic cinema and fantasy stories to an entire generation, making an era and establishing the foundations of the new fantasy genre. Number 3. Harry Potter Film Saga, 2001 to 2011. How many grew up reading books and watching Harry Potter movies? generating not only new readers but also a whole generation of young fans. Harry Potter films were and continue to be a worldwide success, making us live in a world of fantasy and magic full of battles, friends, magic wands and flying brooms. This important saga has managed to survive in the memory of film lovers and become one of the most successful movies at the box office. Number 2. The Wizard of Oz, 1939. We couldn't leave behind the movie that is considered one of the best and most loved musicals of all time. And the truth is, there are not many movies from the 1930s that people still watch, but The Wizard of Oz remains popular to this day. This wonderful film and its characters have gone down in history as one of the most important, adorable and endearing cast of fantasy cinema. Do you want to know the answers to our trivia? Let's take a look before we get to the number 1 of our list. In an era where CGI didn't exist, which fantasy movie created the first photorealistic animal in the history of cinema? A. Legend. B. The Goonies. C. Labyrinth. The answer is C. For the scenes of the film, real owls were used, but not for the memorable sequence of initial credits, which contains the first photorealistic animal made entirely by computer for a feature film. We are talking about 1986, when the CGI was still in diapers and all the visual effects were made manually, as you can see in the rest of the film. Did you guess the answer? Please leave your comment below. Now let's get back to the number 1 of our list. Number 1. The Neverending Story, Wolfgang Petersen, 1984. In a time when CGI didn't exist, the Neverending Story movie stands out not only for its moving story, but for the dedication of its director and production team to recreate the spectacular magical world, different landscapes, creatures, animals, and incredible characters. Thanks to this, it has remained to this day not only as an example of the best special effects work in the history of cinema, but also as one of the best, fantastic films of all time. That is all for our 10 movie countdown. Did you like it? Leave your comment below, subscribe to our channel and leave us a nice like. We put out videos several times a week, so ring that bell to be notified when we post new content. Thanks for watching.